before I start, I would like to make one general comment, and it's a comment which every defence counsel who appears before this court is obliged to make. So if the mainstream media in the Philippines and the NGOs reporting on his case today report anything about the defence's submissions, I hope that they will at least communicate the following faithfully. The defence does not disrespect the soul of any deceased person, nor does it make light of the loss of life. Any criticism made by us today will not be levelled at the loved ones of those such as the tearful relative who I saw in the gallery here on Tuesday. The defence's criticism will be confined only to the prosecution's document containing the charges, which governs these proceedings, not what has been reported elsewhere in the media. It's not the defence's role to give an alternative narrative, nor to give an explanation for the facts and figures presented by the prosecution. The defence's role is simply to persuade your honours that Mr. Rodrigo Duterte should not remain in detention for years to come, simply because the prosecution cannot make out substantial grounds to believe that this individual committed the crimes with which he is charged. Now, Mr. Julian Nichols confidently said the other day that you can ignore Rodrigo Duterte's speeches. Disregard every speech ever made by Mr. Duterte, he said. Throw them all out. There is still ample evidence of the substantial grounds based on the other evidence. That's transcript T4, page 45, lines 5 to 6. Helpful advice from no less than the day-to-day prosecutor in charge of this case, because we will show that the evidence is not substantial, rather totally inadequate. But in any event, since I can leave no stone unturned, I now turn to those speeches. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned from the domestic media coverage of this case, it is that journalists and their editors have a tendency to fixate on the salacious elements of a person's speeches while ignoring the less interesting parts. And so it was with Rodrigo Duterte. The prosecution has had its opportunity to show you a selection of these speeches and seems to believe that the more they show, the greater the chances of convincing your honours to confirm the charges. But what the prosecution has not told the public is that in its document containing the charges, which governs these proceedings and nothing else, it has only supplied 20 of these speeches as proof of criminal intent. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, 10 of these speeches, including 2 referred to by the deputy prosecutor, actually contain an exhortation to the use of lawful self-defense. Thereafter, we found a further 35 speeches, which will be found at tab 9, 11 to 26, 29 to 35, 37 to 41, 43 to 46, 137, and 152. Now, this is obviously not a competition. The point we really merely wish to make is that relying on the former prosecutor's speeches as a means of proving criminal intent is impossible. Now, I'd like to go back to that one speech which I promised the other day to show you. This is a speech, the second speech that the deputy prosecutor referred to in his opening statement. And this refers to the responsibility that Mr. Duterte said that he would shoulder, promising to shield rogue officers from prosecution. If we may, the first of these speeches, and I quote what the deputy prosecutor read from this speech. So the police is under the DILG, so I have to believe the story of the police, for simply they are my subordinates and I am ultimately responsible for their deeds. Now let's look at what the deputy prosecutor didn't state from the same speech. And the order is simply this: go out, arrest them if you can, But if there is no peaceful method of doing it and you are presented with violent resistance, thereby placing your jeopardy in your life, you shoot, well, the son of the bitch. Mr. Duterte's language, obviously, but nevertheless an exhortation to lawful self-defense. Let's have a look at another one of the prosecution's speeches mentioned in their pre-confirmation brief. Once again, on shielding criminal agents from prosecution. I quote, this is, I apologize, PHL OTP 00001127 at page 5. And I quote, "But if you do your duty, do not worry about cases. I'll protect you. Believe me. That's why I will protect them. And if there's somebody who will go to jail, it's me. I will assume full legal responsibility." Now let's have a look at the exonerating element, which comes right underneath the allegedly incriminating element. He said, "Just do it right. We have our trainings that you can only kill if your life is in danger, and you are there performing the duty of a law enforcer. That's about it." Now I will turn to one of our speeches that we found in our research, one of the 35 that the prosecution didn't find. And I will terminate there because we have the rest, which we've referred you to in the tabs. So this is an exonerating speech which the prosecution either missed or ignored because it doesn't suit its case. And it was a speech which was made right at the start of the presidency, which could be seen as setting out the standard for his presidency. Mr. Duterte said this, "I promised them I will suppress crime and take control of the drug situation, which was really running wild in our country today. Make no mistake about it. I repeat again for all and for everybody's consumption. Do not kill if you are not in danger of losing your life." Well, it goes on. You can see it there on the screen. Well, of course, the prosecution knows that we are going to argue that many of these speeches, in fact, the majority of these speeches, I would say, contain this exhortation to the lawful use of self-defense. And the learned counsel, Mr. Edward Jeremy, for the prosecution, tried to get around the problem by inventing the novel concept of the elastic mouth, which out of one side emanates the nasty truth, while out of the other side issues the supposedly disingenuous advice for the police to act in self-defense. But I ask your honours and the people of the Philippines listening in today, how many times did you hear the former president state at the beginning of any address that he had the speech of 2 pages prepared, but to his regret, it didn't come from the heart. And then he would proceed to speak at length, sometimes for an hour or more, in his own uniquely colourful and crusty language, exposing his homespun theories on crime control, swearing a bit here, boasting a bit there, and generally delivering a speech more akin to Finnegan's Wake than a Gettysburg Address. That does not suggest crafty design, hinted at by Mr. Jeremy, quite the opposite. Mr. Jeremy's resort to the say one thing